All right, I got a big topic to get into with omniscience. God is omniscient. A lot of people are like, why does God allow all this evil? Why doesn't God prevent this? Why doesn't God, intervene here and do this? The reality is that God has a far greater mind than we do. That's why he created us, because we're lower than him. God is omniscient. He knows what's going on. He's outside of time. He's not confined to time like we are. Therefore, we cannot really be like, God, why aren't you doing this? Because until we can get outside of time like God is, then we have no place to judge. So there's a couple verses I want to get into that really help cohere what I'm talking about. First one is Job chapter 1, verse 6. Satan is approaching God and he's talking to him. And says, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. So Satan is approaching God and he's like, hey, I want to do this to Job. First off, a lot of people are like, why doesn't God allow this? Or why does God do this? Why does God do that? Why doesn't God stop this? So I want to look at it from the allowing part. God allows things to happen in our lives because God is not evil in himself. There is no nature in God that is evil. He is all good. That's why James says all good and perfect things come from above, from God. Anything that is bad, anything that happens to us that is bad, that is of our that is of a trial, it is from Satan. God is allowing that to happen, and that's what God is doing in this situation. He's allowing Satan to work in Job's life to see how true his faith is. I have for you, declares the Lord. Second verse, Isaiah 55:8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. In this verse, it's simply saying, my thoughts and my ways are above yours. What you think is happening right now that is bad is actually going to be happening for good. We don't see a year from now. We don't see 10 years from now. We don't know what's going to happen then. Something really bad. I lost my job and now I'm unemployed. But then you get a better job 5 years from now. Whatever. You go through a trial in your life. But ultimately it works out for the better. All things work for the good of those who love God, those who obey God. And it's not talking about people just in general. A lot of people like to throw that verse around like it's just a jolly good, feel good verse for everybody. That doesn't work that way. When you're disobedient to God, you will suffer a lot. When you're obedient to God, you're going to suffer, but it is ultimately going to be for an end result of good, for God to use you to persevere towards him and to have a stronger relationship with him and to receive his blessings. Final verse is Jeremiah 29:11, very popular verse. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and to give you a future. God can see our lives. He is outside of time. Therefore, he knows what's going on. We can trust him and have faith in him. Why do bad things happen in our life? We need to look at the fact that God does not have evil within his nature, so God is not the one doing it. Satan is doing it because he is the father of deceit. He's the prince of deceit, whatever you want to call him. He's evil. He's bad. He hates us, and he wants to drag every single human being down to hell with him. And a lot of people think that's a fairy tale. Spiritual warfare is very real, and it is coherent with what we read in the Bible. Satan and God are fighting against each other. Believers and unbelievers are fighting against each other, but God has already won. All right, he won on the cross. So all we have to do is put our faith into him and live for him. That's all he asks for us, to have a relationship with him. If God created the heavens and the earth and everything in between, I think we can trust that he is going to be doing in our life what he knows to be good for us. Therefore, we can consider it pure joy, as the Apostle James says, whenever we go through trials of many kinds, because we know that the end result is going to be perseverance and a stronger relationship with God. And our lives are not to be lived here on this earth, but they are an eternal investment, an eternal sacrifice for God in heaven for all eternity. You are loved.